Hit that button. Okay, here we go. Dudes on dudes fighting. I'm RJ, and this is my co-host Stu.
Hey guys, sorry my voice is completely fucked, but I mean I don't have that soothing of a voice to begin with, so deal with it.
I
Happy Christmas, Merry New Year.
I feel like 70% of the population post-Christmas has a raspy voice, either from drinking and yelling or just the flu that inevitably goes around.
Yeah, especially when you're like hanging out with a bunch of people all the time and like there's kids around and shit because kids are just fucking disease carriers.
And kids are so loud that you have to talk over them constantly, and it just like reeks you out.
I picked up my nephew Jonah, and he just coughed in my face too. Like he was just like, oh. I was just like, oh my god, I'd be mad, but you're so goddamn cute.
Oh,
I'm his godfather.
oh, the official title.
Yeah, because I'm so into God and shit.
Yeah. I'm so into taking responsibility in a tragic situation.
Yeah. Oh man, I got a few things to piece together if that ever happens. God forbid.
God forbid.
All right, so we got a big fucking messy card coming up with our boy, the picogram or whatever, John Jones.
UFC 232, man. Fuck. This is a week for the ages.
Yeah, I swear to God, things just keep getting more fucky to the point where like this is like flat out so obviously fucked that
Yeah.
like there's no hiding it. They're just like, oh, we're just gonna move it. Like, so those who don't know, if you've been under a rock, John Jones popped for steroids for like the 18th bajillionth time, and they're like, yo, it's actually just a pulsing effect from old steroids that he didn't mean to take.
Like, even if you got on board with his just pulsing from old steroids, like, his whole approach this week is just like, yeah, but that's like old steroids. Like, I'm not getting an effect
Yeah.
anymore. And it's like, yeah, but that means you have to admit that you took the old steroids. Like,
Yeah.
his, like, cute, or whatever, the press conference this week was just like, I'm banging my head on the desk trying to make sense of his argument of like,
Oh,
it's
I
such a
know.
small amount, like you can't even willingly take that. And it's like, you do know that means that that's what's left in your system. Like, no one is trying
Yeah.
to say like, hey man, you took 60 picograms of Duranabol or whatever the fuck it is. Like, no one's
Yeah.
saying that. They're saying there's 60 left per milliliter.
Oh.
It's like, it's all in
And
your system still.
and Gus is just like being like, oh, I don't care if you're on rocket fuel or whatever. And John Jones is like, oh, why don't you come up with a new line or something? It's like, John Jones, your fucking line has been, it wasn't me
Yeah.
for fucking, or I didn't mean to do it for the past like 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
you need to come up with a new line here, dude. Like, how many times can you just be like, well, it wasn't my fault. Like, both your brothers got popped for steroids in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking crashed a car into a pregnant lady and you just get off the hook with all this shit.
I was following some dude today on Twitter. I can't think of the name. It's too late.
Yeah.
But he was saying that he was doing some like investigatory journalist bullshit and realized that I think it was UFC 145 when John Jones fought Rashad Evans. They
Yeah.
suspiciously
Specific. Oh,
suspiciously never released the like drug
the testing.
results. Yeah, so he submitted a public inquest to the state of Georgia to release those documents. And then a whole people are like
Wow.
chiming in saying, oh yeah, I remember there was a rumor that someone pissed hot, but they kind of forgot about it. And someone dug up an interview with Dana White later that summer. Like, this must have been like May or April.
Yeah.
And then later that summer, Jones fought Vitor Belfort and won. And after the fight was over, it was revealed like, oh, Vitor pissed hot before, and the UFC kind of like pretended to not, get the record in time, so the fight went on. And Jones goes
Yeah.
on about, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Like the UFC's covering this up to protect their boy, and they're like, it's the interviews with Dana White and like Michael Landsberg from Canada's Off the Record is asking him like, well, what do you think
Oh
about this?
yeah.
And Dana's just like, of all fucking people, like John Jones should not be talking about other people, and their drug tests. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's so
And this
damning.
was even before all that shit,
Yeah, this
right?
was
Like,
like
so,
his first title defense. Like UFC 145 was so long ago.
oh man, I
That
don't
had
know.
to
The
be
whole thing's just
2010.
such a mess. Like, it's like he's moved an entire card to a different state
Yeah.
because John Jones popped for steroids. And this is an amazing card already. Like, so,
They could have
I
axed this
mean,
main event and I would still be so excited for it.
exactly. Or, dude, you know what? I was just sitting there thinking, like, I was just like, imagine John Jones, they had to kick him out of the main event, and somehow our boy DC fucking
Swoops.
kissed his kids all on the head, walked out the door, and somehow made 205 because you know that chunky monkey. Oh, whoops, not monkey. Because but that chunky little man is definitely gonna save the day. I don't know. I fucked up my words there. Now
I
it's
love fucking
like,
DC. But did you see
yeah.
like moments before we recorded he relinquished the title officially?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I thought that was a little fishy when I was watching the press conference. Like they said this was for the light heavyweight title, and I was like, I thought this was the
Yeah.
interim title. And then
Mm-hmm.
today, like DC said that like he rather relinquish the title than be stripped of it in some bullshit way.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show his character, man. Like, out of anybody, too, like, he's got to give his title away to fucking
And he just defended it like
boss.
6 months ago. Like there's no reason to just strip him.
It doesn't make any
Nothing.
sense,
Nothing. UFC is
what?
losing so much credibility, even with this whole situation of just secretly sliding in like light heavyweight title. It's like, wait, what? Like this is an interim, but they
Yeah, and the
just
thing was too,
don't announce it. Yeah,
he popped months ago too. When
yeah,
you listen to Nowitzki on Rogan, like it's the guy's just running around in circles. It's
and
like,
like,
oh, he popped here, but like, so why couldn't they figure that out back then? So clearly they were trying to cover it up back then, and like he popped again, so it blew up in their face, and now it's like the whole thing really doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
and thinking back to this summer when he started popping again, like in August and September, like that's right when the USADA changed the rule to that they wouldn't publicly announce test failures until like their due diligence was done. And at the time,
Yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh, this is good," because sometimes someone gets thrown under the bus and it's just a supplement and it's like not,
yeah,
like it really like fucks things up. And I remember thinking at the time, like, "Oh, this is a little fishy," but I wonder why. And now this all comes out. It's
yeah,
like, oh, this is clearly why. Like Jones had
yeah,
fucked up in August, and they couldn't, announce he failed another test before his like he was going through the tribunal stuff with California still. It's like he can't like announce he's failed another test while he's trying to dispute the first one, trying to get off his 2-year suspension.
yeah. It's completely fucked. I mean, like, and if you have something in your system, the rule is you can't fight.
Yeah,
Like,
there's no
it's
like
just like,
tolerable level. Yeah,
yeah,
even if
like,
it's
even if they're not going to give him a suspension, like, maybe he can't fight until it's out of his system,
yeah,
you know?
that's only fair because it's like okay, if I'm gonna take that friggin' stretch and go with this
Mm-hmm.
is still the same shit in his system from 17 months ago, it's like it's still in his system.
Yeah,
It
I don't think, I mean, it's really the UFC, and USADA, and John Jones just relying on us as fans to be stupid. You know, like, there's no fucking way that, like, this shit just doesn't add up. Like, it just
No,
doesn't make any sense. Like, he clearly taken steroids, and one taking steroids got off the hook, and I would, like, bet good money that if, like, we could look into it, that he's taken steroids again,
of
like,
course, yeah.
since it.
And this is all like relying, like the excuse Jones is saying, like, oh, the tests are so sophisticated now, they're just picking up these trace elements you would never find before, so therefore I'm not guilty. And it's like, does that just
Yeah.
mean that you've always just been like microdosing and have had this shit in your system year round and you've never got caught
Mm-hmm.
because it's like the test wasn't so sophisticated? Like maybe if they tested him on the day that he takes whatever he's taking, it is a big red
It,
flag, but within like 6 to
yeah.
12 hours it's out of his system, like mostly except for a couple goddamn picos.
Yeah. Well, because these drugs nowadays can, like, funnel out of your system so fast
Yeah.
that it's like, I'd be willing to put money on the fact that that's the case. Like,
And
he
plus,
is.
yeah, plus like masking agents, like that's a thing where he can take some other drug that hides the whatever
Yeah.
metabolite this is, and there's just like barely any picos left because he's taken something else that attacks and
Mm-hmm.
dissolves the metabolites. Like it's fucked.
Yeah.
He's for
And
sure
he's
guilty,
just.
but he's an amazing fighter.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd rather him, like, be a douchebag like he is now, and, like, see his true colors than this, like, him pull this, like, God shit where, like,
Yeah,
I don't know what happened, but the Lord puts us in these situations for a reason. And it's
yeah,
just like, oh man, I'd rather just see you be like, well, fuck it, I don't know. You think
yeah,
of picograms why I beat you last time? Like, which is like him saying that, it's just like 50% of people say that Gus won that fight too, that
yeah,
first fight.
yeah, yeah,
Like, for a guy who, like, always goes, like, says that people are coming up with excuses, like, he's king excuse maker. Like, whether it's about drugs or, like, he just seems to forget the true narrative behind things, and, like, convinces himself that things are the way that he wants them to be. And then Dana's up there at the press conference acting like his fucking lawyer.
yeah. It was fucked. Ariel
That
did like
was.
a little interview too, and Ariel says like, "Oh, I was just following the Joe Rogan podcast, and Nowitzki says you popped in August and September, and then again in November. Like,
Mm.
were you aware every time?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then someone off camera says something, and Jones is like, "No, like they don't tell me everything." And it's like, what? Like you can't like take obvious cues from someone off stage and then immediately change your story and expect
Yeah.
anyone to believe anything you say.
And yeah, him to be like, oh, I'm going to listen to my boss on this one. Like, to
Yeah.
Dana while he's on stage is like, clearly you guys are lying and just haven't gotten your story straight. It's like something fishy going on. But either way, fucking, I'm
And it
stoked the
all,
fight's happening.
it banks on Jones being a huge pay-per-view draw because the UFC's missing pay-per-view stars.
Of
So if
course,
Saturday
yeah.
night though, like Saturday night's like do or die for him because they've already lost at least 6 million moving the event. Dana has said.
Mm-hmm.
So if this isn't a huge pay-per-view number, then there's no reason to keep like covering for him.
Yeah.
Even if he wins, it's like, okay, fuck this. Like, if he gets 300,000 buys or something, it's like he's no better than Yoel Romero or any other like mid
Yeah.
tier like guy.
Mid to big star,
Like, I
yeah.
think it will
Well,
do better, but
I could see people buying it just because of the circus of it, you
and
know?
that does work in the favor. Like UFC's been trending on Twitter all week because
Yeah,
it's all
of
bullshit,
course.
but it's still like everyone's aware of what's going on.
No, I know. Like, even, like, people who don't watch it have been, like, to me, because they know I'm a fan, being like, oh, do you hear about that, like, John Bones guy? He's he's on steroids or whatever, and I'm like, yep, like definitely on steroids.
He always has been, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's just like, at what point does he be like, okay, I'm just gonna try and like do everything the way that everybody else does it, or like 90% of people do it, where they're like, just go out, do everything clean, cut weight, make the fight, and there's no questions afterwards, you know?
I guess that comes from him being undefeated and has done it this way his whole time. That it's like a huge risk to go in and feel underprepared, or
Yeah, because he wants to be the best of all time, right?
well, he is like
Yeah,
you
I
can put
guess.
the asterisk beside his name or whatever, but it's still like no one can beat
Yeah.
him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not
No.
so like I'm definitely like if he's doing steroids, he should be suspended, of course.
Yeah.
But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like I'm pretty realistic, and I know that steroids aren't like a magic, potion. Like it's just allowing
Yeah.
him to train longer and harder. And that's not just
Mm-hmm.
like, you take this and then you can work out for 6 hours and it's easy. It's like, no, it's still incredibly fucking hard. And he needs
Yeah.
to have that mental strength to get through it. But Gustafson's not doing that. Gustafson's, calling it a day at 4.5 hours. And Jones is
Yeah.
getting that extra round or so in every day. And that accumulates over a 20-year career.
Oh,
He's got
big
way
time.
more experience, way more, time hitting
And
sparring or whatever. Like it adds up. But at the same time,
and
like
like
I'm aware, like, okay, it's not like I could just take whatever Jones has taken and then be light heavyweight champion. Like it doesn't work
no,
like that.
definitely not. You have to have like over great um skill and like mental strength and body and everything for it. But I mean, when you have that base, it's gonna make a difference. And
Yeah.
if you look back on it, like the two guys that he's beat that are kind of in his realm, being DC and Gus, like those are guys you can tell aren't on the shit, you
Right.
know. So and at what point did this bit of steroid use or whatever, did it make a difference? I think it can be a question, because those guys aren't losing to anybody else.
No. No.
So
And yeah, like it always go like you can say someone like Chael Sonnen has been, in his later years been pretty open about like he's always been on the gas and he's
yeah,
not undefeated. Like there is
yeah,
times when that doesn't help you. But then you see someone
but
like
he,
Vitor Belfort who went on stretch who was gassed to the gills,
mhm.
unstoppable, and then they changed the rule on the testosterone replacement therapy and then he's mellowed out quite well. Like
Yeah.
so
And I mean, part of that's age, but there's no denying that that guy was juiced to the gills, like you said,
yeah.
and came off them in a completely different body type,
Yeah.
like completely. And that's a guy you want to see on steroids, because
Yeah.
it's just awesome.
If they allow steroids, I think you're allowed to take them. But right now, if they're not allowed,
Yeah,
then yeah, you have to fucking suspend him until he's clean. Like, sorry. It's not about like
yeah,
your toleration or you can have this much in you and it doesn't matter. This many under 100 picos and it's fine. It's like no,
yeah.
the guy's still clearly on something. Even if you can't detect what it
Hmm.
is right now, like that's the thing that's like
Yeah,
really like making me wonder about, you see all these conspiracy theories shooting out about USADA and it still comes up to like for some reason it seems like this investigation is backwards where Jones pisses hot and USADA is trying to find evidence that he willingly cheated. And it's like, why
yeah,
is fucking USADA trying to find evidence that he willingly took anything? With everyone else,
yeah.
like Tom Lawler and Frank Mir, it's just, or even Josh
Well,
Barnett, it's like, you took something, you're just suspended. That's the end of it. There's no fucking
well,
investigation to see, like, oh, maybe it was actually this.
the Frank Mir incident is so crazy because Frank like even asked like, could this be something that I took from when I took before?
Yeah.
And then they flat out just said no,
Yeah.
like that's impossible, and
Yeah.
just suspended him. And it's like, well, if it could happen in this case, why? What makes
Yeah.
it any different from these other guys?
I
You
wonder
know?
if that opens USADA up any liability. Like Frank can sue them for like lost income and shit. Because it's the exact same situation.
Well, I mean, after the whole like Mark Hunt thing,
Yeah.
like I think it's definitely opened a lot of questions, and everything that's happening right now like goes like piles onto Mark Hunt's case.
It
Like
does.
it's
Yeah.
like if that guy doesn't win the lawsuit, then there's corruption in that too,
Yeah.
because fucking clearly that's just like clearly USADA and fucking UFC and Jeff Nowitzki, and they're all in bed to a certain extent together. You know, whether it's a couple guys on USADA who are on the inside, or if like I doubt it's the whole company. But I mean, if you even look at that Icarus movie, it only took a couple guys on the inside to make that huge change. You know,
Right. Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else in the building was doing their job normally, but the key players who were
Yeah.
transporting the drugs, or like the key scientists and everything, were in on it. So I mean,
This is
it's
such
not
a.
just Russians.
And it's like everyone's trying to throw like USADA under the bus. But I think this is
Yeah.
more the UFC. Because
Oh,
in that case,
definitely.
you're saying like, yeah, they were like taking the tests and swapping them out. Like someone in the actual lab was fucking around. But in
Yeah.
this case, like he's getting caught. It's like the administration side of things is just making excuses. So like
Hmm.
someone in USADA is doing their job. They're testing him regularly and marking it as fail. And then it
Yeah.
gets like to maybe not Jeff, maybe he's just the figurehead, but like somebody, if it's a combination of him and Dana or who, is making
Hmm.
a decision to be like, well, this isn't a really a fail. They called it like
Yeah.
abnormal sample or something. It's like abnormal.
But how many times does it have to be abnormal?
Well,
You know,
apparently
like
this has been at least 3 times in 6 months.
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
pretty normal now.
Yeah, this is normal. That's his base now.
I think that we'll see a lot of information come out, because eventually this USADA contract will end, and then there will be whistleblowers, because I think they got USADA on board in the first place just to make it good for the sale. Like
Yeah,
to make it look like, oh, we use this like state of the art fucking
yeah,
labs with USADA and everything to test people, and it was right before the sale they signed them on, and there's only a certain amount of time on their contract, and I could definitely see the UFC, unless it's only to cover their ass, ending that contract with USADA and blaming it on something like this, and kind of throwing them under the bus. But then I'm creating
hey, I have
a
an
fucking
alternative timeline.
Icarus.
I have an alternative
Okay.
timeline where I'm with you, but I
Hmm.
wonder if the other way is like the UFC says to Asada, like, hey, how about John Jones fights this year and we'll
Yeah.
re-up that contract and give you, $20 million for another 3 years.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're not. Like, it's a bit of a Mexican standoff.
Yeah. And I mean, if anybody's putting money in their pocket, it's the UFC. Look how much the UFC talks about USADA and everything too, right?
Yeah,
And how much they've bigged them up. They're definitely in each other's pockets for sure.
yeah. It's
That's such a good point. Like that's another thing that we could look at though, like when their contract gets extended or what happens, because that could really show some evidence of what's going on, you know?
Yeah, money is always at play, and
Uh,
clearly UFC wants this fight to happen today. Because other
mm,
options were, just delay it until March or even
yeah.
whatever they needed to do to. But it's like no, they wanted this to happen today. I don't know if
Yeah.
even like as far as like financials, like they need their quarter 4 2018 to be big because this is going to happen right before the end of the year. Like there's
Well,
some
that's been the
reason.
rumor, right? They
Yeah.
needed this fight to get as many eyes on it and as many pay-per-view buys as they could because it wasn't as good of a year as they projected. But if they
Right.
can have one more big one with this, it could really like even them out. I mean, I wonder what they would have done without that Connor fight if that's the case.
Yeah, is that the only like AAA fight this year? I think just Connor. Like DC Stipe Miocic was a good one. I think
Yeah,
that did good numbers, but that's not like a Connor fight or what Ronda used to bring in.
well, they've really been banking on Connor like in these last few years. Well, and yeah, like you said, Ronda too. But it just goes to show how much that one star really affects everything. Because John Jones doesn't have shit on Connor as far as star power.
No, yeah, no, not at all. He was him and George St. Pierre, and
Yeah,
he had his like late 2009-10 run and then a suspension. Like he's been polarizing, but I would be interested to
yeah,
pull up the top 10 UFCs of all time and see John's name on any of them.
yeah. Well, and the thing too is like, is is John really that big of a star, or is a lot of it to do with the controversy why he's in so many people's mouths? Like, there's no taking away from what he's done as a fighter. He's an
Yeah.
amazing fighter. But I mean, so was Mighty Mouse, and Mighty Mouse wasn't bringing people in like that. I mean, and John Jones doesn't necessarily have like the most interesting story or like the best on the mic or anything. He's kind of just a dumbass.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google and we confirmed like John's nowhere near the top 10. Number 1 is Khabib and McGregor. 2 is Diaz and McGregor. 3 is McGregor and Diaz. 4 is Alvarez and McGregor. 5 is Lesnar and Frank Mir, UFC 100. And
Oh,
then
that's
it's
surprising that Ronda's not on there.
she's up there though. After all the
Yeah,
McGregors are done, Aldo McGregor, then Lesnar, Carwin, then Nunes, Rousey, Holmes, Jackson, and Evans. That's a surprise. Lesnar,
yeah.
Vasquez, Weidman, Silva, Couture, Lesnar, Tate, Nunes, St. Pierre, Diaz, Liddell, Ortiz, Silva, Sonnen. Jones isn't on anywhere near this. Cormier
But
Jones 2 is at least 16th. Like he's not a big draw. He,
hmm
as far as pay-per-view dollars. Like he's a big
yeah,
star, but that's his biggest one.
yeah. I don't know. I think that I guess we'll see what happens after the pay per view comes in after tomorrow's card because if all the controversy and what's on the line and everything like doesn't put the buys in, then really I think the UFC's got themselves in a bit of fucking hot water here.
Yeah.
Because was the juice worth the squeeze to get him changing the
Wow.
event? Fucking
Completely undermining the whole drug process. Like,
yeah, pun intended with the juice worth the squeeze
juice
there
was
too,
not
by
worth
the
the
way.
squeeze.
Oh
Or even if
man.
Gustafsson wins,
That dude, I think there's a good chance that can happen too,
there's a
man.
great chance that could happen.
He's an amazing fighter, and dude, no matter how good John Jones is, anybody in that division, you could say, with anybody who's fighting has a puncher's chance. But Gustafsson has way more than a puncher's chance. He's neck and neck with this guy, man. He's neck and neck. He had a
Hmm.
great fight against DC too. So
And I really, as arrogant as John has been all week, like I think that's a sign of like the nerves getting to him. Like he's yelling at that reporter at the press
yeah,
conference, and
dude, that was
that's
just
all coming from
fucking
him being
weak, man.
he's we that's exactly it. Like he's not coming in confident as shit. He's coming in as like, oh my
No.
god, like this could all unravel at any second. This fucking girl's asking me questions I don't want to answer.
Yeah, and he was so rude to her. Like, I mean, She was kind of like her. Well, obviously English wasn't her best language,
No, she's
but like,
Swiss. Or not Swiss,
yeah.
like Swedish. Yeah.
But at the same time, like coming at her so hard, like pretty much calling her an idiot in front of
Yeah.
everybody was just like, come on, man. This is like a tiny little girl just trying to fucking report on the fight. Like, you don't have to be a fucking
And those were
asshole.
all good questions.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
questions that everybody wanted the answers
Yeah.
to. So I don't know, man. I guess we'll see how it plays out. I'm glad it happened because it gives us something to talk about. That
It's
was like
been
25 minutes of content right
it was like
there.
hard to watch, but I'm glad it happened.
Yeah,
Let's move down
definitely.
the card though. I want to talk about Chiesa and
Mm.
Carlos Condit.
Oh yeah.
This is
So I
Condit's
guess
second fight back? Like he kind of took that like
it's his
retirement for
third fight back,
third,
I
okay.
think. He hasn't looked that good of
No,
late, though.
no, he hasn't.
He's got a fuckload of fights, though.
Yeah, he's fucking sick.
42 fights? Holy shit. And then I guess this will be Chiesa's first fight at 170, right?
I feel like Chiesa, like I just don't understand why he is at the top of pay-per-views and all these things. Like
Because they're
he was on the
like,
Ultimate Fighter and then he just became like a main guy.
well, I really think it's a trickle down effect from Connor.
Right.
Really hitting him, and he's suing Connor
Yeah.
for all the money Connor made on that huge pay-per-view card against
Khabib.
Khabib. Like, buddy, fucking, if you want fans, not the
Yeah.
way to get
Not a
it.
way to do
Why
it.
wouldn't you just do a backdoor deal with him and be like, yo, Connor, toss me like 2-3 milli and we'll never talk about it again. But now he's just like, I hate him now.
I hate him. Yeah. Fucking Maverick Chiesa.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think he's got a shot. Even though Carlos is on, borrowed time,
Mm-hmm.
I've just never really seen something in Chiesa that says like top 10 fighter.
No, man, and like his last his biggest fight when he fought Kevin Lee, he got choked out, and
Yeah.
then like he didn't actually tap, I guess, but it was clearly like
Yeah.
he was gonna pass out. He's like tries to use that as a defense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
He didn't have his hands up.
fuck
They're like
off.
hands at his waist and I didn't tap. And it's like, yeah, but the ref has full authority to just end the fight if like it's over.
Yeah,
And to act like it would go differently if he gave you another 15 seconds, like what are you talking about, dude? Like just take the L.
yeah, exactly. I think Condit's going into this fight with a like, I don't really have anything to lose at this point attitude either. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like it's just it is what it is, and fuck it. I think I gotta take Carlos Condit on this, and not only just because I don't like Chiesa. Like Chiesa's moving up a weight division. Carlos Condit's he's eventually gonna find his legs again too. That was a long layoff for him.
It was.
Take a couple fights to get back in it, and fucking he'll throw down the hammer. The natural born killer.
Yeah, he's due for a win.
Yeah. Well, I think he won his last one, but it was
No, he lost both of them.
Oh, he lost both of
Yeah,
them, man.
submission to Alex Oliveira.
Chiesa's good on the ground too.
Yeah, but Chiesa's a choke artist.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a bitch. Oh, Connor accidentally threw it through the window, and now I got fucking glass in my fucking face. I can't fight. It's like, buddy, you probably weren't gonna make weight anyway.
You were not gonna make weight, and he's like freaking out in that video, like, "Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding?" It's like, dude, you
Oh my
fight
god,
for a
what
living.
happened?
Every
What
day
happened?
you're bleeding. Like, why is? Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? Oh my
Yeah.
god, am I bleeding?
Fucking pussy.
Good.
Yeah, let's just call it what it is. Fucking Leave the mullet to fucking really cool people.
Yeah, leave it
He
to
doesn't even
Australians.
deserve to wear that mullet.
Yeah, don't even think you're Australian, buddy.
Yeah, buddy, you fucking wear a mullet, a fanny pack. Like, that is for cool guys. You aren't cool. uh,
Well, what do you think about Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes? Possibly the greatest
ooh.
female fight of all time?
I mean, you got to put it up there.
There's never been
What
a
what
collision
else?
course like this
No,
where it's
and
like two
and Nunes
dominant.
and nobody. They've never really put, other than Holly Holm, put a big name against Cyborg. You
Right.
know, and Nunes beat Holm, right?
Yep.
So I mean,
Nunes is a lot
if
smaller, but I don't know. Like, that's the downside to someone like Cyborg that's so fucking
mm,
dominant that
yeah,
you really don't know how good someone is until they're like tested and have to fight
hmm,
back for 3 rounds and see where their cardio is, see where their heart is. And I
yeah,
think Amanda's the person to try her.
yeah, definitely. I think so too, because like really, she hasn't had that big test at all, other than Holly, and I just think for some reason I think this is the end to the cyborg hype. I mean, not
Yeah,
that there's any hype. Like, Cyborg's earned everything she's got. She's a great fighter, but like, one, nobody fights at that weight class, so she's not really had
yeah,
the crazy talent coming in. And like, really, I've watched some of her other fights, and it's just like she doesn't look that good. She's just bigger and stronger than these other girls.
yeah.
Like, I think she's a great fider, but
She is a great fighter, but that strength advantage is huge.
yeah, I think she's got a lot. I think people are really underestimating Nunes's ability, and I think it's her time too.
Yeah,
I and I think she goes into a lot of things like underappreciated, because whether it's like the way she looks or like the way like she doesn't speak English or whatever it is, but I think if she can go out, put a great performance on, like, people will be talking about Amanda Nunes forever after. She'll be a huge star if she can get this one.
I hope so. Because, like we were just saying, the UFC's top 20 pay per view dudes, like, all of them are retired right now. So, like, maybe
Yeah.
that's why they're, like, fucking all in on Jones. Like, he's the closest one. But
Hmm.
I think you could get Amanda Nunes as a new Ronda Rousey. Well, maybe not that level, but at
Yeah.
least get some, attention on either division. But I'm with you. I feel like
Yeah.
Cyborg has openly said for years she hates fighting in the UFC and she never gets promoted and it's all bullshit. And she wants
Yeah.
to be a boxer as if that pays more money in some other, fantasy world.
Yeah.
And she has
Like,
like maybe one fight left on her contract or something. It's running
mhm.
up. So I'm with you. Like if Nunes wins this, fold the division and then
And that's
just
exactly
go
what I
for
was gonna say too.
135. 135's and 115. Get rid of that fucking 125 belt too. Like sorry Shevchenko, but no one gives a fuck.
I'm
There's
such a
not enough.
Shevchenko
I
fan
am
though,
too, but
so
like there's not enough girls to spread it across those divisions. Like
yeah, I was just, oh man, it was just premature putting in those weight classes this
yeah.
early, you know? I get they had to do it for Cyborg at 145, but wait until there's
Yeah.
more chicks that come in, and like, wait until the sport grows there and keep those two divisions, put
Yeah.
more of the marketing into like, they could have, instead of adding those two weight classes, wouldn't you want to see a 165-pound men's division, or a 220?
I would think even like keeping it in the like female divisions, like planning for the future, like you want 115 and 135 to be
Of
like
course.
banner divisions that inspires people to be like, I want to fight in the UFC. Like what
Exactly.
12-year-old girls watching UFC right now and it's like I want to join this fucking shit show where They just make up title. Like, no one wants to do this in 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're killing the
Well, and
sport
it
off.
just goes to show with that. What was the girl's name? Like Nico or whatever? The girl who was like the champion at 125 and just like missed weight against
Right.
Shevchenko and
Yeah.
then just disappeared.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
like took her belt away and she was just like, do, slowly backing out. Like, okay, at least I can say at one point in my life I was a UFC champion.
Yeah, yeah. No one will
Def,
believe me, though, because they probably, like, wiped the Wikipedia, started over.
yeah.
No one remembers.
Uh, so funny.
But I got Nunes in
Yeah,
this fight.
she's a worse champion than
Than Randomir?
Durangemi.
Yeah. Which
Jesus
says a lot.
Christ.
Says a lot.
So I'm gonna take Nunes by. I'm gonna take her by submission.
So I think it's going to be a decision. I think this is
I
one of those, like, um, who beat Mighty Mouse? Hideo?
Cejudo.
Cejudo. I think it's going to be a fight like that, where it starts off
Yeah,
even, and then you just start to be like, hey, wait a second, I think Amanda's winning. And then a good
yeah,
fifth round to wrap it up. Yeah, I think Amanda by decision.
yeah. Well, I mean, with the corruption in the UFC too, like you could definitely see the judges swaying towards Nunes in a decision, anyways, just so they can fold that division and be like, well.
You tried.
See you later, Cyborg. One fight left on your contract.
That
All
being
right.
said, though, it seems like UFC doesn't give a shit about anyone except for Jones right now. Like every other fighter, it's like, yeah, you guys are all just, fighting in LA now. Week's notice. Like, fuck all you.
Yeah, more taxes. Who
Who
cares?
cares? Yeah, and someone
You hear
asked
Dana
Dana,
go?
yeah, who's paying
Yeah.
my taxes?
Oh my god. Yeah,
Yeah,
coming from almost billionaire.
yeah.
Like it really doesn't hold a lot of weight.
No.
The guy who gets to he drive get on a private jet and go to the shows
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
And
I
they
mean,
could,
I like Dana too, and I appreciate what he's done for the sport, but it just seems like he's let things like since the Fertitas have left, like it seems like it seemed like they really leveled him out, and now
yeah.
it's just like
Well,
I
because
don't
at the time that was like his UFC. Like he really
yeah
fucking cared. I used to love him when I started getting into it like hard in the early
same
2000s. And Dana just seems so real. Like he'd go into the press conferences and say, "Oh yeah, that fight sucked. Like I'll never tell you.
yeah
Like I'm an honest promoter. Like if something's not good,
yeah
I'll make it good for you." And now it's like he just lies about everything and doesn't seem to care at all. I think this
well
is his
it's
last year at the helm. Like I wouldn't be surprised that he's going to announce resignation in the next 6 months. He just doesn't seem to
really
care. No, he's just like,
yeah I think now that he has bosses too, like he's got people to answer to
yeah,
that like
aren't fight fans. They're
I
just
don't.
numbers people.
Yeah, exactly. Like I
Yeah.
think he really cared about the sport, and I'm sure he still does too. But like at some point, it got lost in translation there, where it was just like, well, now I've like done this huge sale, and I gotta like maintain this like money making machine where it's just like UFC needs to grow slowly.
Yeah.
And I think they got too much of a taste of the good life having their two biggest stars in there of all time at the same time with Ronda and McGregor. And it
Yeah.
was just like, as soon as that went away, it was just like, oh shit, what do we do now? Now we got to do all this fucking backdoor bullshit to try and like get the casual fan in and kind of turn your back on
Right.
the real fans.
I remember when like maybe it was like when Chuck Liddell was close to retiring, like someone,
Yeah.
probably Ariel fucking poking the bear, was asking, Dana about like Vince McMahon from wrestling says like he doesn't know how you could do a legit sport because you can't promote unless you know the outcome. Like you need to control
Yeah.
who the star is. And Dana had some comment like, like every day a new star walks in, So like,
Mm.
even though Liddell's retiring, someone, whatever, like John Jones has just come in, like take his place in 3 years. Like, we just create the stars and they have a short life and it always recycles and everything will be fine. But like you just
Yeah.
said, at the same time, they had fucking McGregor and Rousey who were like quadruple the numbers of everyone, and like
Hmm.
Brock Lesnar every now and then. It's like no one's come in since them and eclipsed that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I don't think that they were ever expecting a woman and a smaller guy
right,
to be the biggest stars ever, and it threw off completely everything that Dana thought was possible with it.
right,
And I think that like each weight division should have a team of like lower level promoters who dive deeply into like each of the top 10 and figure out the best way to promote them and then bring them to the top guys and really like build up these stars instead of like it just being like the matchmaker Dana and the matchmakers in Dana just trying to do everything. Like they need real great teams in each weight division to build these stars,
yeah.
and they can do it. I mean, it's
One of my favorite seasons of Ultimate Fighter was, I think, season 4 when Matt Serra won. And like that was one of my
yeah.
like, why can't we, like, I would watch that show again if they just had like welterweight division and it's all just fucking people from the UFC, because it let,
Mhm.
maybe not like trap them in a fucking house for a month, like that reality shit
Yeah.
is lame. But even like a Dana White contender series of like, let's have like a mini fucking tournament for the number one contender and learn who everyone
Everybody
in
loves a
welterweight is.
tournament.
Yeah, like I don't know anyone in welterweight except the top 3, and it just seems
Mhm.
like it's a, recycling of Wonder Boy and whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just the
Yeah.
top guys over and over again. It's like there might be, a hidden gem. There might be a McGregor in that division, but we never
Exactly.
hear from him.
Yeah. I mean, with McGregor and Rousey too, it was a perfect storm of uh like looks, talk, and you can never take away from what the two of them did at their start in the UFC. They
Right.
beat everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Like Connor didn't have an easy road
No.
to the championship. He fought some real fucking dudes and like took fights on short notice and really did it the right way. But now, like you said, they're just getting these guys in, and if they have one fight, then they're just pushing them forward to the top instead of building them up
Yeah.
and letting them have like Connor wouldn't have been Connor if he didn't have those 4 or 5 other fights before he got to Jose, you know?
Right. Yeah. And at the same time, like he'll never be that Connor again.
Exactly.
Being $100 million in his bank account and fighting once a year. Like he's not the same guy as he was 4 years ago. The Connor
Exactly.
from 4 years ago would beat the one today for sure. And it's just like
Yeah.
frustrating when they're trying to sell you on 2018 McGregor's, he's back and he's going to get
Hmm.
his belt. And it's like, no, he isn't. Like a guy that fights once a year is never going to be a fucking champion. Like he's only in the gym like casually leading up until a fight gets booked. And then it's like, okay, get into shape, get back to it. And it's like, everyone else in that fucking division is in the gym year round, dude. Like you
Yeah.
can't compete
And
with that.
doesn't have all these other obligations with
Right.
huge whiskey
Shitty
brands or
whiskey.
like
Yeah.
all this other shit. I mean, and but that being said, like they you really have to let these guys fight their way to the top. They have to go by the way that everybody else does it. Like maybe push them forward a bit, give them a bigger name and a guy on their way out earlier, but not right away. Like let them have a highlight reel first.
Yeah.
And I get they're worried about taking a loss or whatever, but fucking some of the biggest guys in the sport have taken losses early on in their career and come back. I mean, Connor's taken losses early on in his career
Yeah.
and still been Connor, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. They really need to figure out a way to just like if they want it to be this like sport that's compared to all these other great sports, they have to have more of a method to the way that they do things, or else it's gonna lose interest for people, you know.
I'm really surprised that with the new ESPN deal that like pay-per-view is still a thing. Because pay-per-view
Exactly.
just like completely eliminates an audience. I guess it's just a way to make the most money, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like they don't have the pay-per-view draws anymore. So I thought like this would be the year to be like, okay, if I don't know what was the last like. There's been a couple big ones this year, but like maybe 300,000 buys. Like it's not a huge number. Like that's what they used to get in like 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
Like they've totally receded back. So it's like this is the time to like, okay, phasing out pay per view. That model is dead. Even though every now and then you have a goddamn McGregor that will sell 2 million. If the rest of the
Yeah.
year you're only getting 150, let's
But
switch to
it goes
ESPN
back.
and fucking make the app like
Yeah.
whatever.
It goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking about the fact that there's just too many fights.
There's too
Like
many.
if there wasn't that many pay-per-views, the pay-per-views that existed would be such a big deal, you
Yeah.
know? Where they like and they have so much talent that they could really even it out and not like some of those Fox cards, it was just like we wouldn't even know that there was a card coming up. And
No.
it's just like fuck, man, like take half of what's out there, just split it in half, or even don't split it in half. Cut the UFC in half and have UFC and then UFC 2,
Hmm.
kind of like an OHL NHL thing, or like a whatever the feeder league is into baseball too, and just
Right.
be like, okay, this is the minor leagues, and then have those guys fight on Fight Pass, and those are like the minor leagues where like you can watch the minor leagues, and then when they make it to the UFC, then it's like this big deal, and they make it to these like big cards where everybody's watching, you know,
Yeah.
and make the point that these guys get to fight in the UFC such a big accomplishment. Just like the fact that there is a fight in the UFC is a big deal, you know.
Something's got to change, that's for sure. Because right now,
Yeah.
it's like, this is not working.
Well, yeah, I mean, either way, I'm gonna watch it and you're gonna watch
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
most people aren't me and you. Most people
Most people
aren't
are too, yeah.
talking for an hour on a, a YouTube show about what's going on either, you know? Like we're I consider us hardcore
Yeah,
fans at
we
this
watch it
point, you
every
know?
weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, well, that brings us to the main event of this evening. Or
Two,
tomorrow
two
evening.
states in the making.
Yeah, 2 states and fucking 3 failed drug tests late. And fucking like 6 over his career. We got John Boner Jones and Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson.
I have no doubt in my mind that Jones is juicing.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything he says.
Hmm.
I think the UFC is definitely working with USADA to make sure this fight happens.
Couldn't agree more.
But I still think Jones is going to win. Like, I think he is that good.
It's so hard to fucking bet against John Jones. Let's get serious here.
Like, Gustafsson is great, but also he's not very active.
No, he fights like once a year.
Was his last fight was against Artem, not Artem, Glover
Andre
Teixeira.
Arlovsky.
No, Glover
Oh
Teixeira.
no, Glover Teixeira. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right, and he fucking knocked him
he
out
knocked him
cold.
out. That was
Hmm.
May 2017. Like, what? That's so fucking long ago.
Yeah, for a guy who's ranked number 1, he's
Yeah.
really not active.
No.
For someone who's like I mean, he's a fairly decent sized star in the UK, but really that doesn't mean a lot when it comes to the UFC. You got to be an international phenom to like fight once a year like Connor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to. I should stop comparing people to Connor because that's just such a fucking.
Yeah.
That's on it. Like there will never be another star like Connor. I doubt. But I mean, even like DC, like DC's bigger than Gustafsson, and
Yeah.
DC's so active.
Bigger in the waist also.
Oh yeah, he does eat that chunky monkey ice cream.
He's fucking
Saved
man.
myself. Oh yeah, Popeyes, chunky monkey ice cream, fucking rice, everything. He's got it all.
So I'm thinking Jones is gonna win. I think DC is gonna fight Lesnar, and I think Jones is fighting the winner of that in July. That's my bet.
Okay.
Assuming Jones doesn't, piss hot for the 5th time this year.
Which I think he will.
He will, of course he will.
Yeah. So.
And for someone,
okay,
back to throwing John under the bus a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, if you take steroids and you get caught, isn't that a, like, heads up, like, they're gonna catch me? How many times do you have to take steroids and then get caught to keep trying it?
Blow and shit too? Like,
it's fucking insane how he still is doing it, even though he gets caught every time and then just pays his way. I guess that's why he gets away with it in one way or another. Pays his fine off. Man. I don't know.
It's just so crazy though. Like it's just like how much money do you have to lose too? Like I get you're still making good money, but you had Nike and Gatorade as your sponsors. You had these huge fights. If you just but like you said, he was probably doing it the whole time, so he didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So you got Boners Jones in this?
Yeah, I just can't imagine a world that Jones loses. Like Gustafsson gave him a real good fight 4 years ago, and like you said, 50% of the people say Gus won that fight. Mm-hmm. But that was also John saying he was like doing blow and partying that week, and he didn't take it serious. So,
but who can really take what John says for fucking fact?
That's
right?
it, though. And I was gonna, and the other side. So, like, my one point is like I feel like this fight he's fucking motivated as hell to show people he's back, and he won the first fight. Yeah. But at the same hand, like he's going through so much bullshit this week. Like I wonder what his mental state is at.
I gotta go.
It's a lot of pressure.
I mean, I know this is crazy, but I gotta go with Gus on this one. I just think that like it's almost like everybody has him so counted out. All eyes are on Jones. He's been training hard. He's got he's good dad if you watch the Embeddeds at all.
Great dad.
So we've
Jones is a
almost forgot about our own rules there. Yeah, brutal dad.
Brutal dad.
Yeah, fucking. Who gets a whole card changed on Christmas? Merry Christmas. We're not going to Vegas. Psych. We're going to fucking LA.
Never mentions his kids. Like, you barely even know he has them.
No, yeah. Yeah. You know those boner pills that he supposedly took, which were probably just normal steroids.
Not were for his wife.
No. That was... Like, didn't he get pulled over with strippers in the car one time?
Yeah, that was one of his first, like, drunk driving issues.
One of his first.
One of the first ones.
Look at what we're talking about. One of his... I gotta go with Gus on this one. I'm saying Gus by decision.
If this is a Gus by decision, that's the end of the Bones era, right? Like, his whole thing is built on being unbeatable. So if he loses, like, it's over, dude.
I also kind of want to see what happens. But I feel like if it's even close, Gustafsson has to beat him in, like he has to win, like, every round. Yeah. Actually, but the judging in the UFC isn't quite as bad as boxing.
Oh, no. There's only been a handful of, like,
so
questionable ones. I can't really think of any, like, straight robberies. Like that doesn't really happen in the UFC.
Other than GSP versus what's his name, the guy with the huge beard who was on steroids.
Hendricks. But even
Yeah,
then, like I wouldn't call it. That wasn't like Triple G Canelo. Like that was like a close. That
nothing's
was
that
same
bad.
with Jones and Gustafson. Like it was a close fight. If you want to argue one way or the other, I'll listen to you. But that wasn't 10-8 round,
No,
10-8
you're right.
round, and it goes the other way.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to
You
take
got
Gus,
Gus. Yeah, it's a good bet,
and
man.
I'm gonna go by decision. I might use our app that we're sponsored by BetDSI. Use the promo code Stu and RJ for $5 off. Psych one day.
Psych one day. We both love BetDSI, and
yeah,
the no money we make on this podcast will even out by our winnings one day on BetDSI.
Why don't you quickly hit before we wrap this up? Quickly hit the listeners with your 7 fucking
I
fight
went a
parlay.
little fucking overboard today because I love a parlay because like I never want to put money on my account, so I'll just like slide in $10 and I'm like fuck it, because you can just bet $10 and then put 4 or 5 fights is my normal, and if you win it's like times like 5 or 6, so it's like this is a good, I'm not betting much, so I don't feel like I lost any money, but at the same time if they hit, like I clean up. And more than once in my life I have hit and cleaned up. But today I just went a little overboard because there's so many fucking sick fights on this card. It's like I can't not bet on the BJ Penn Ryan Hall fight.
Oh man,
like there's just too many.
The undercard on this is fucking gangster too,
and that's why it's like, why did back to like they could have just postponed Jones and Gus, and this would have been a sick card, but they moved the whole
they got
thing.
Kat Zingano fighting on this card, got Andrei Arlovsky fighting on this card, BJ Penn fighting on this card.
Yeah. So I anyway, on the old BetDSI
Uriah
app,
Hall.
Uriah Hall's fucking sick. I put down $10 for Ryan Hall to beat BJ Penn, Kat Zingano to beat Megan Anderson, Arlovsky to beat Walt Harris, Chad Mendez to beat Alex Volkanovski, and Carlos Condit to beat that bum Michael Chiesa. And like we were saying, I think Nunes is going to upset Cyborg. And I got Jones over Gus. And if I hit all those, it pays out $900.
That's fucking sick.
That would be a New Year's Eve party.
I'm hoping you're right, man.
Just for that $900.
Did you leave Jones? You had Jones?
Yeah, I got Jones. Yeah, Jones.
All right, I'm definitely not cheering for Jones, but like if it comes down to it and all your bets are right, I'll switch up because I'm not that invested into like.
Yeah, if I go like 6 for 6 and then you're switching teams in that main event, yeah.
Yeah, I'm more just cheering for Gus because I'm interested to see what will happen if Jones loses.
Right.
What happened?
Let's wrap this up though. This was a good episode.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to add?
That's it from me, man. My other podcast, Pretty Much Experts. New episodes up Thursdays.
Which gets better and better.
We're on Spotify now.
Week.
We're slightly getting more and more.
Shit.
It took a bunch of back and forth with Spotify to get approved, but we finally met the threshold of listeners and episodes and all that shit that we're in.
Dude, the last episode I listened to bummed me out, man. I thought you'd be a Christmas guy. You guys were such downers.
Yeah, we were so out. That episode started with so low energy, but then when Skylar and Mike just went on about ruining that fucking house, I was laughing so hard. I had to take the mic away from my mouth because it's fucking horrible people.
Skylar gets funnier and funnier each episode because he's more sinister every episode. And I love when Mike talks about fucking all the time too. Like it's
And for
so
like
funny.
a pretty big dude, like he gets his work in, man. He's got the best personality. Like chicks love that guy.
Oh man, he's so fun to listen to on the podcast. Definitely check out their podcast. I'm gonna have updates for Tag in Sports in the new year. A lot of good things coming
Big
from
stuff
that.
coming along.
There's something else I wanted to mention, but I can't remember. Oh, we're gonna try and get back. We've had a bit of a layoff. Sorry to all 12 of you guys, but we've as you can hear, my voice is fucked, and it's just RJ's moving all over the planet. So
Yeah, I can't stay still.
You're in Ireland now?
I'm in Ireland now. Shillelagh. I'm gonna be
Are
here
you
for.
bummed to be out of Romania? Because I know you're enjoying
Romania was
it.
fucking sick, man. I'd go back there in a heartbeat. But I'm gonna stick around Ireland for like 2 months, I think. I'm taking advantage of this open invite I got.
So where are you staying?
I'm living with the same people I lived with last year when I was here.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, they messaged me a few weeks ago and were just like, if you don't got plans for Christmas, like come here. And I was like, can I stay for New Year's? And they're like, stay as long as you want. And
That's
then
awesome.
when I got here, like Niall, my boy here, he was saying that he wants to join like a 6-week like boot camp fitness thing, and he's like, we should do it together. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm staying for 6 weeks.
That's sick, man.
Guess I'm here for boot camp.
Well, by next episode, I'm sure you'll have some good Ireland stories to hit us with.
It's been a heavy week, man. But let's wrap this one up. Next week we'll be back breaking down this fight, and we want to get to some like year-end awards and wrap up of 2018. It was a good year overall for me, MMA wise.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was an awesome year. We watched a lot of great fights, and I mean, how many times have we come back on fights where we were just like underwhelmed about and being like, that was so sick, you know? So, anyways, fucking love you guys and happy New Year's. And one more thing. Send us a fucking theme song. Somebody. We need a theme song, but we don't want to find it ourselves.
Ease us in and out of each episode. Come on, we do everything else.
Yeah, come on, dude. RJ does everything else. I show up for an hour. All right, happy New Year, bitches.
Take care.